Welcome to our latest video where we take a look at the top 10 notorious criminals from Alabama. Crime has been a part of human history for as long as civilization has existed, and Alabama is no exception. Throughout its history, Alabama has produced some of the most notorious and heinous criminals known to society. From cold-blooded murderers to corrupt politicians, this state has seen it all. In this video, we'll be counting down the 10 most notorious criminals to ever come out of Alabama, so sit back and get ready to be amazed by the shocking tales of these dangerous individuals. But before we get started, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about our amazing upcoming informative videos. Now sit back, relax, and let's go. At number 10 we have Audrey Marie Hilly. Audrey Marie Hilly was an American woman who was convicted of murder in the 1980s. She was born on January 19, 1932, in Alabama. Hilly was known for her elaborate schemes and her ability to deceive those around her, including her own family. She was accused of poisoning her husband and daughter in order to collect life insurance money. Hilly was later arrested and convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Her case attracted nationwide attention due to the extent of her deceit and her ability to manipulate those close to her. She died in prison in 2007. Number 9. Donald Broadnax. Donald Broadnax, also known as the Madison Square Garden Rapist, was a notorious serial rapist and burglar who terrorized the residents of Alabama in the late 1970s and early 1980s. He was born on February 22, 1956, in Alabama. Broadnax was known for his brutal attacks on women and his ability to evade capture for several years, leading to a widespread fear in the community. He was finally arrested in 1983 and later convicted of multiple counts of rape, burglary, and assault. Broadnax's crimes have had a lasting impact on the community and have been widely covered by media outlets throughout the years. He is currently serving multiple life sentences in prison. Number 8. Raymond Eugene Brown. Brown was an American serial killer who was active in the 1980s. He was born on June 25, 1952, in Florida. Brown was known for his brutal and sadistic killings, which included rape and torture. He was convicted of multiple counts of murder, sexual assault, and kidnapping. Brown's victims were mainly young women who he would abduct and hold captive before eventually killing them. Despite his heinous crimes, he was described by those who knew him as charismatic and charming. He was sentenced to multiple life sentences in prison, where he died in 2002. Number 7. John Russell Hauser. John Russell Hauser was an American mass shooter who carried out a deadly attack at a movie theater in Lafayette, Louisiana in 2015. He was born on December 13, 1955, in Alabama. Hauser opened fire during a screening of the movie Trainwreck, killing 2 people and injuring 9 others before taking his own life. He had a long history of mental illness and was known to have made threats of violence in the past. His attack serves as a reminder of the devastating impact that mass shootings can have on communities and the importance of addressing mental health issues. Number 6. Michael Terry. Terry was an American serial killer who committed several murders in Alabama in the late 1990s. He was born on May 22, 1964, in Alabama. Terry was known for his brutal and sadistic killings, which involved rape and torture. He was convicted of multiple counts of murder, sexual assault, and kidnapping. Terry's victims were mainly young women who he would abduct and hold captive before eventually killing them. Despite his heinous crimes, he was described by those who knew him as charming and charismatic. He was sentenced to multiple life sentences in prison and remains incarcerated to this day. At number 5 we have Tyrone Mitchell. Tyrone Mitchell was an American spree killer who fatally shot 2 students and wounded 12 others who were leaving 49th Street Elementary School in Los Angeles on February 24, 1984. At 2:23 p.m. on Friday, February 24, 1984, Mitchell, 28, hunkered at his second-story bedroom window and began shooting at nearly 100 children as they fled the 49th Street Elementary School for the weekend break. He had killed himself with a single wound to the head from a 12-gauge double-barreled shotgun. No one else was found in the house. Number 4. Joe Lagon. Joe Lagon is an American man who was convicted of multiple counts of murder in the 1950s. He was born on June 16, 1936, in Alabama. Lagon is one of the youngest known individuals to be sentenced to life in prison in the United States. He was convicted of participating in a spree of violent attacks and murders committed by a group of teenagers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Despite his young age at the time of the crimes, Lagon was sentenced to multiple life sentences in prison. He has spent over 60 years in prison and is considered to be one of the longest-serving juvenile offenders in American history. Lagon's case has been widely covered by media outlets and has sparked debates about the juvenile justice system and the concept of life sentences for minors. Number 3. Daniel Lee Siebert. Siebert was an American serial killer who was active in the 1980s. He was born on January 19, 1951, in Alabama. Siebert was known for his brutal and sadistic killings, which involved the use of knives and blunt objects. He was convicted of multiple counts of murder, sexual assault, and kidnapping. Siebert's victims were mainly young women who he would abduct and hold captive before eventually killing them. Despite his heinous crimes, he was described by those who knew him as charming and charismatic. He was sentenced to multiple life sentences in prison and died while incarcerated in 2008. Siebert's case remains one of the most infamous in the history of American crime and serves as a reminder of the dangers of violent and predatory individuals. Number 2. Robert Edward Chambliss. Chambliss, also known as Dynamite Bob, was an American domestic terrorist and member of the Ku Klux Klan. He was born on March 23, 1894, in Chilton County, Alabama. Chambliss was convicted of the September 15, 1963, bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, which killed 4 African-American girls and injured over 20 others. The bombing was a seminal event in the civil rights movement and led to increased national attention and support for the struggle for racial equality. Chambliss was initially convicted in 1977, but he died in prison in 1985 before he could be sentenced for his crimes. His case remains one of the most notorious examples of racial violence and terrorism in American history. At number 1 we have Nanny DOSS. Nanny DOSS was an American serial killer who was active in the 1920s through the 1950s. She was born on November 4, 1905, in Alabama. DOSS was known for her murders of multiple family members and her husbands, who she poisoned with arsenic. She was arrested in 1954 and later confessed to 11 murders. DOSS was dubbed by the media as the Giggling Granny due to her reported laughter and lack of remorse during her trial. She was sentenced to life in prison and died in 1965 while incarcerated. DOSS's case remains one of the most infamous in the history of American crime, and her actions have been widely covered by media outlets and true crime authors. And that's a wrap for our top 10 notorious criminals from Alabama. From murderers to bank robbers, these individuals have captivated the attention of the public and the media. Despite their heinous actions, it's important to remember that they are still human beings and their actions should be condemned, not glorified. We hope that this video provided you with a better understanding of the criminal landscape in Alabama and gave you some insights into the state's most notorious criminals. If you found this video informative, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content.